Mia Smithson is the CEO and founder of the $30K program. She empowers women to get higher paying jobs they adore by teaching them how to effectively package skills and strategically negotiate with confidence. She's a passionate global director of talent management with over 7 years of experience helping top tech companies hire, grow, and retain extraordinary talent. And her background includes leading leadership development for 100 plus hiring managers and interviewing 5,000 plus tech professionals and creating plus implementing Faith Life's global workforce strategy encompassing 800 plus people in 7 countries. Let's feel empowered and encouraged to negotiate for business worth by talking to Mia in this episode. This is the Guiding Voice podcast series, the Guiding Voice for a better future. Friends, I am your host Navin Samala, just a fellow professional on a mission to make the world a better place to live. Through the Guiding Voice, we drive conversations that matter and conversations that add value to your life and to your career. Thank you so much for tuning in. And Mia, hearty welcome to the Guiding Voice. Super thrilled to host you today. And finally, we are here.
Yeah, thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, pleasure to have Mia. And let's move forward. And I'm really curious to understand what are the top 3 things that I've attributed to your success so far, because it will help our audience get inspired by knowing your success mantra.
Yeah. So I would say the first is falling in love with discomfort. So I have the quote, discomfort is the currency of your dreams, as my phone saver. And I lean into it, right? Like if I wake up and if I'm not frightened sometimes and scared, then I know that I'm not pushing myself. And so, I would say the first is falling in love with discomfort. The second is realizing that you will not be perfect, right? There is no such thing as perfect because your definition of perfect is different than my definition of perfect, right? And so it's really about putting out exceptional work and recognizing that you will not please everyone, but at the same time, you will impact profoundly people as long as you're actually putting your work out there. Then I would say the third thing is that the more volume that you do, the better the volume becomes. What I mean by that is quantity breeds quality, right? So oftentimes you hear that dilemma of like, oh, well, I want everything to be amazing, but I know we need to, let's just say you're a social media manager and you're like, we need to put a ton of content out there, but how are we going to do that if it's all supposed to, be the certain bar? Like if you just literally, you take consistent action and you just consistently push your content out there and iterate, right? Yeah. That is truly how you improve. So I'd say those are like the 3 like keys to success, at least that I've seen at this point in my career.
Yeah, wonderful. And especially I love this quantity breeds quality. And many times people get stuck at working towards perfection. And as you rightly said, perfection means something else to somebody. And it is relative. Like something which I feel is perfect may not be perfect to you, right? Wonderful, Mia. And after you have embarked on your entrepreneurial journey with this the $30K program, what are some of the toughest lessons that you have learned in this process, which you may have not anticipated and which you may have not prepared, but you are able to overcome them and treat them as okay, as if this is a learning for me?
Yeah, this is such a great question. So I started the 30K program after finding out that I was underpaid by $30,000. Right. And immediately afterwards, I hired a coach. I learned how to negotiate. And then I got not 1, not 2, but 3 promotions within a year. And so I know what the gender pay gap feels like. And I've personally interviewed over 5,000 people. And roughly half of those people have been women. And if I had to estimate, roughly 1,500 women I have personally heard undersell themselves in an interview setting, right? And so here's the thing, right? Women can have it all, right? And that includes a job that they find deeply meaningful and enjoyable, and that's also higher paying, right? And so I think, yeah, at the heart, it was like learning how to like believe in myself and my ability to deliver immense value, my belief in my ability to actually communicate that to whoever I need to communicate that to. And then I would say also like the crux of negotiation has been like hugely helpful. Like negotiation is a skill, right? So it's like riding a bike, right? When you learn how to ride a bike, you're not like worried about if you'll be able to ride the bike in the future because like you know how to do that. And it's the same thing with negotiation. It is a skill that can be taught and anyone can learn.
And you said out of 5,000 plus tech interviews, and about 1,500 of them are women, and most of them felt they are underpaid. Right? How can somebody find out whether they are paid enough or right?
Yeah, that's a great question. So there are a number of databases that you can use online. So Glassdoor has one, salary.com can also be a valuable resource. Some jobs even post salary ranges on the job descriptions. So legally in the United States, there are 8 states that require companies to post like the specific salary ranges. And so what I recommend doing is like, yes, do your due diligence. But then when you're actually in that negotiation, what you don't want to do is you don't want to, it's called spilling the candy. And that's where you say what you're currently earning, right? Because then you lose leverage. So instead, what I recommend doing is even if you know that salary range, I would literally just ask that that recruiter or that hiring manager that you're speaking with and ask, what is the salary range for the role? Get that clarification. And because you really never know, like, it's funny. So I helped my sister to negotiate for a new role. And she was thinking that the role was like 100K roughly. And she, she didn't obviously say that amount, but she asked what the salary range was. And they're like, oh yeah, we'd go up to about 130K. And she ended up literally earning, at the time, I think she was like 75 or 80K, and she ended up earning like a 50K jump, right? So she went to like the top of that salary range, and she was able to do that because she wasn't spilling her candy, right? She wasn't saying what she's currently earning. She wasn't just saying what she's wanting to be earning. Instead, she was really smart, right? She was finding out this information, and then once she had that information, strategically negotiating from there, right?
Yeah. And you started this 30K program just to make people better at negotiation, and is it applicable only for women, or that is my first question. And second question is it only for lateral hires, in the sense people with experience, or is it applicable for freshers as well?
Oh, great questions. The skills that are taught within the 30K program can help anyone, regardless of gender, regardless of industry, regardless of position title. I did specifically found the 30K program to help women because women in the United States earn 17.7% less than men do. And I'm just not okay with that, right? And so that is why the program is specifically geared towards women. And one thing that's been fascinating is that roughly like 80% of the women who join our program are actually already at 6 figures when they join. And so we don't have a like minimum threshold that you have to be earning, but we are noticing that it is typically like a certain caliber of woman who is interested in our program.
Okay. And what inspired you to start this program, other than you said you were underpaid 30K? Is there anything else that inspired you to start this program?
Yeah, so I think so much of it is just like what I've been doing the last 7 years. Like when you spend like so an average recruiter, right? They may spend like 5 hours scheduling the interviews, like 15 hours sourcing, and let's just say like 20 hours interviewing, right? I have spent thousands of hours of my life hearing women not know how to effectively package their skills, hearing them undersell themselves and their experience, also just seeing really crappy resumes apply. Like literally some of the resumes I've seen, like they hurt your soul, right? You're like, are you freaking kidding me? Like step up your game. That is not how you create a resume, right? And so it's like, I could just like carry on with my life and just like hold all this information inside. But I was born to make a difference. You know what I'm saying? Like I want to make an impact in this world. And so like, this to me is like a pain point that I've personally experienced, right? I've heard like over 1,000 women also experience this pain. And I'm like, you know what? I have the skills to solve this pain. I've solved it in my own life. I've helped others do the same. And so like this to me is just a very clear, like very large pain point that I have the skills to solve and why not, right?
Yeah. And it brings me to my next question based on your previous response. You said we can do the salary range. We can get to know the salary range through salary.com. And also often we can check with the recruiters, tell us the salary range. But it is often tricky to get that answer from them, right? So what should be the strategy of the candidate? Because especially in India, like during my last two job switches, I was curious. I said, hey, can you tell me the salary range basis which I can negotiate? They said, no, we are not supposed to disclose. And they try to evade that. So is there a way where we can have them answer that question?
Yeah, that's such a great question. So oftentimes it's how you ask the question that I realize, right? So we teach in the program something called the reversal and then the double reversal. So the reversal is where you say, let's just say you're the hiring manager and you say, Maria, what salary range are you targeting? And I say, I'm really interested in this role, but before I let you know that information, I would love to know like the salary range for the role in order to better assess whether, this is an interview process that I'd like to continue with.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. And so you put the ball back in the interviewer's court, and she may say like, well, the hiring manager, like for a role hasn't actually told me, or like the decision maker doesn't actually know this information yet. Could you let me know that salary rate? Right. So then they throw the ball back in our court, and you could just say, it sounds like you don't have that full range yet. Could you follow up with the person who does have that information via email, and we can go from there?
Yeah.
Right. And that way, like, it's fine if they don't know the salary range up front, but you're just requesting to know that information via email. Right. And then here's where it gets really juicy. So no matter what salary range they say, my recommendation is always, is there flexibility in the range? Some of the companies I'm interviewing with are a little bit higher, right? And obviously only say that if that's accurate, but it shows that you're in demand, right? It shows that, you're willing to, like, you're wanting to negotiate a little bit. And also, like, negotiation is a skill that is hugely valuable in corporate America, right? If they see you effectively negotiating, you will likely be that person who is negotiating vendor contracts, who they pull into mergers and acquisitions, right? Who's that like point person, because they see how you carry yourself, right? They see how you speak. They see how you strategically negotiate with confidence. And they're like, wait, okay, like she handled that really well. Like we want her on board because we want her doing that in our company and saving us money. You know what I'm saying? Or making us money at that point, right? And so I literally, is there flexibility in the range? Some of the companies I'm interviewing with are a little higher. That is just like, oh man, it's such a juicy line.
Interesting. And here comes my next one. Again, I think that ties with the core of today's conversation. It's more about how do you make women feel empowered and encouraged to negotiate for business worth?
Yeah, that's such a good question. So it's really about helping the person to believe in themselves and also believe in their skill set, right? So oftentimes I'll hear like low confidence phrases. So it's words like, I'll try, or, oh, but if not, that's okay. Or I wish, or I hope, I feel, I think, right? It's these kind of like wish-washy words that we work to clean up, right? So someone who speaks with certainty uses words like I will and I can, or let's do X, right? And so a lot of it is like actually helping the person to shift their dialogue to a more certain voice, because certainty sells, right? Like if you go in there and you're like, I'm not really sure if I can make a difference here, like I did some other things, like they're not gonna hire you. Are you freaking kidding me? But if you go in there and you're like, you know what? You researched their mission, their values. You literally went through your entire resume. You know exactly how day one you'd make that impact, right?
Yeah.
That is someone who can speak with certainty and with clarity and with confidence, right? And so it's about doing that like preparation in advance and then speaking and communicating with certainty, right? And then we literally, like, I have a whole list of like low confidence phrases, right? And then we have like the shift of like, try this instead, right? And so having like literally writing down like, oh, it's interesting because I keep on saying I hope instead of I will or I can, you know, like start catching yourself, right? And then that will just make such an impact, right?
Yeah, wonderful. And yeah, this is so enlightening conversation for sure. And let's add some spice to the episode. I'm going to kick off a quick rapid fire round so that our audience will get to know your personal side, Mia. Are you ready for it?
Bring it.
Okay, here comes my first one. If you could have one gigantic billboard anywhere with anything on it, what would it say?
Discomfort is a currency of your dreams.
Discomfort is a currency. Wow. Okay, moving to the next one. What is the first thing you notice about someone when you meet them?
How I feel around them, not what they say.
Okay, good one. And moving to the next one. Can you describe yourself in just one word?
Determined.
Determined. And what is the weirdest thing that you have ever eaten so far?
I lived in Thailand after college, and I ate a cricket. I got photos, so it was wild.
Interesting. And if you could be any animal, what would it be?
Dogs. They're lovable, they're adorable, they're athletic. I mean, what is not to love about a dog, really?
Yeah, indeed. And last one for the rapid fire. What is one electronic gadget that you would like to see or invent yourself?
Attachment to your body that tracks your cortisol levels. So it would like tap you if your cortisol levels are getting too high. And then from there, it would say like, hey, here are a few different ways that you can decrease your cortisol, right? So it's like, hey, your cortisol is getting a little bit high. Let's do some quick breathing exercises or take a quick walk, right? And I just think that like learning how to manage your stress is one of the keys to success, right? And having data, like instantaneous data, like someone needs to invent that. I've thought about that, but I already have a business. I don't need another one, but
fascinating. And I'm sure it will become a reality very soon. And with that, let's flip back to the mainstream. What will be your one piece of advice to those aspiring to make big in their careers?
Believe in yourself, even if those around you don't yet. You are the only one who can validate you, right? And when you view people like external, like validation vending machines, you don't get very far. But instead, when you follow your own moral compass and when you have that innate belief in yourself, even if the outside world doesn't always agree with that belief, that's truly where the power lies, right?
Yeah. Believe in yourself. Awesome. And how has been your experience being hosted on The Guiding Voice?
Ooh, I thought it was great. You're very organized. I can tell you're very disciplined, and it was really fun. Yeah.
Awesome. Even I had fun talking to you. And in fact, it was quite insightful. Thank you so much for joining me. Thanks for your time and all the amazing tips and insights that you have shared. Really appreciate it, Mia.
Thank you so much. This was amazing.
So it was a pleasure hosting you, Mia. And friends, that was our episode with Mia Smithson. And before we move into the trivia section, here is a request to you. Please subscribe to us in case if you haven't done already. And if you are listening to this podcast episode on Apple or Spotify, request you to follow if you are not doing already. And if you have not left the rating and review, please do so that it will boost our reach. And also, if you have loved the conversation and found the episode useful, request you to share with at least 3 of your friends or colleagues who can benefit from The Guiding Voice. Thanks much in advance. Now let's hop into the trivia segment of today's episode. Today's trivia is about currency, and especially the 2 new forms of currency that are launched in the 21st century, and really curious about how this currency is going to evolve in the coming decades, because literally mobile payment technology and virtual currency have changed the face of the industry and the way transactions are being performed. Now let's take a dig at these 2 technologies. Mobile payment technology and virtual currency are 2 new forms among many of the currency that was launched in the 21st century. And mobile payments are used to pay for products and services through a smartphone or tablet, whereas virtual currency is a digital representation of value that functions as a medium of exchange. Probably you can think of Bitcoin and digital rupee or the e-rupee, and several governments are launching their own e-currencies, and that is about virtual one form of the virtual currency. Whereas when it comes to the Bitcoin kind of thing, it is not controlled or regulated by a central bank. So we are living in interesting time. Likewise, I'm curious to understand from you what are the different forms of currency that you are anticipating in future. Would love to hear your comments. Feel free to comment it if you are watching it on YouTube, or if you have found this episode elsewhere on social media, comment there. That's all for today. Thank you so much for joining me. And friends, do not forget to share your topic recommendations and guest speaker suggestions either through social media or by emailing me at theguidingvoiceforyou@gmail.com. I'm your host Navin Samala, just a fellow professional and a passionate learner on a mission to make the world a better place to live through conversations that matter and conversations that add value to your life and to your career. Until next time, bye-bye. Signing off for now. See you all in the next episode with another amazing guest.